everyone, and we're live. Welcome to the Come Cook With Me show. My name is Laura Hall, and you're in my kitchen here in Daphne, Alabama, and I'm so happy to have you join us today. I have been cooking up a storm in this kitchen and creating so much fun. So last year we did a similar recipe. We're making some mouth-watering meatballs. And if you've never had these meatballs before, let me tell you, they are an absolute sinful treat, but I've actually made them a little bit more healthy than I did last year. And this year, I've created a vegan meatball recipe that I am so stoked about sharing with you all. I mean, let me tell you, it has just been incredible. So let's get down to it. If you are new to the show, say hello, who you are, where you're from, because in our community, that's what we've been doing. We're nearly, I think we're approaching, as of March, will be, I have to go back and look at the very first show, but I think March was right around March, April. I think March was our first show. So we're almost 2 years in the making, which I'm so excited about. And who knew it would get into, morph into this opportunity of just bringing you some really great meals and how just everyone who's followed it, it's just such a big blessing. So let's go ahead and tell everyone where we came from. Last week, I did a vegetarian pasta sauce. So what I started off with, and you'll see it both in the fast pots and the pressure cookers right here in the front here. We have a MEALTHY pot and we have an Instapot. And then back here I have a slow cooker. Well, it's an all-clad slow cooker, so can't really call it a CrockPot. But traditionally we've been doing this show, and what we love to do is compare how the tastes are for each implement or tool in the kitchen that we'll be using. So when we first started out this recipe, or this show rather, that's really what we did. We just really had the Instapot and we had the slow cooker, and just compared the recipes and the science behind the cooking. And now it's kind of morphed into the more clients that I've been helping, there are more and more of them are turning vegan or vegetarian, or they're just, you know, that's really, it's been a big hit. So what I've done now, since MEALTHY has really helped us out on the show by giving us a MEALTHY pot, and it's just a different version of, it's just another pressure cooker, but it's an amazing machine. So what they've done is they've allowed us, we have two side-by-side fast pots or pressure cookers, and so we've got the MEALTHY and then we have the Instapot. And so what I do, because I have both of those machines, I've been doing traditionally a regular, if it's a meat that we're making, or we'll do a vegetarian dish. And then we still compare the MEALTHY against the slow cooker. So it's really kind of fun how it's morphed into that kind of a show. So what I did last week is we made a vegetarian pasta sauce, and actually we made vegetarian everywhere. And what I did today is I duplicated that recipe, but instead of having it where it was really, you know, loaded with lots of vegetables, what I did was I took my immersion blender and I emulsified all of the beautiful layers and layers and layers of yumminess, so that it's all emulsified. And I'll just show you what it looks like here in the pot. There's just a few little bit of chunks I left in, 1 can of the diced tomatoes, because I can't have a pasta sauce that just doesn't have a little bit of tomato that just pokes through when you're serving it. So I had to do that. But you can emulsify it completely just so you have that kind of a sauce. And so now the sauce has been cooking. I actually I cooked it just like I did last week, and then I've let it just simmer while I've been preparing for the meatballs. So we're gonna make the meatballs for today's recipe, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. What I wanna do is get started first with the vegan recipe. And also, if you're brand new, don't worry about the recipe. And actually, I didn't want to be even delayed any further, so I still have to actually write the recipe out. So, but it will be in in the very top of the post. When I actually get it written, I'll post it and put it right in the top, so you won't miss a beat. You'll have everything that we've created today, and you'll have it forever, which is so great because this is going to be, I'm telling you, when you kind of learn the secrets of how I've created this recipe, I think you're just going to absolutely love it. I'm not sure that the vegetarian, in my opinion, isn't going to win out tonight. But let's go ahead and get started. One of the things I want to do is share with you, it's a secret of the meat side. So I'm just going to get it kind of started because it needs to soak for a little bit. So I'm just going to show you. Right here we have some bread, and it's just the inside loaf of like a bowl loaf like this. So I cut it around, and then I've pulled out some crusty pieces, and I've tried to make them, little bite-sized pieces. It really doesn't matter because they're going to get real soggy. And so you just want to have those done, and you're going to use some buttermilk. Up here, I actually have some buttermilk. This is an actual buttermilk that I purchased at the store. But if you don't have buttermilk at your store, one of the things that you can do is make your own buttermilk. And this is how I've done this buttermilk. So I just took regular whole milk, and I put the juice of half of a lemon in. So I just took this lemon and juiced it up and put it in that whole milk and set it aside. So I just used a regular whole milk. So I'm just going to take those out of the equation and push those away. But what I do want to do is show you what we're doing with that is we're just going to go ahead and soak these. Now this is for the meat recipe, but I just want to get them started to soak because when we start to make the meat recipe, we'll want to have that. Okay, and that's just going to just get nice and juicy and soak up those juices nicely. Okay. Do the same for this one. And this way I'll know if I need to add just a little bit more buttermilk to this, I can. And it looks like that one, I'm going to need a little bit of more buttermilk in, and you'll see the difference. Yeah, I just want to add a little more buttermilk. I had a little bit too much bread in this other container. So I'm just going to add just a smidgen more in each one. And then we're going to let this sit to the side so that it'll be ready to go when we start working with the meatballs. Okay. I absolutely love this recipe, and those of you who are watching who I wonder if these will freeze well, they absolutely are going to freeze beautifully. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the base of the vegetarian meatballs. Now, there are a lot of products out there, and when I did the Come Shop With Me, which we usually go to the grocery store on Wednesday, and you get to see all of the things that are in the cart. And I give you some options because not everyone has the same kind of grocery store, right? And so what I did is I said, look, I'm going to do the chickpeas, and I actually purchased for what you see in front of me. I purchased the garbanzo beans. They're the same thing as having the canned chickpeas. So garbanzo, they're the same thing. So what I did is I said, you can do this option. And I'm going to show you the difference of what these look like. But in a pinch, if you don't have the time to actually cook these, then the garbanzo beans from the can are just perfectly fine. But one of the things, when you buy canned goods, one of the things I really want to stress, because I really talk about toxicity in the body, I help my clients get into their best health. And when you buy canned products, there's some things that I really want you to pay attention to. So, those of you who know me really well. I cook with organics, and I won't have a debate about what organics are and so forth. And obviously, if you know your farmer and you can buy directly from your farmer, that's going to always be the best. But if you don't have that and you don't have that luxury, I always steer toward organic, and I always want to find products that don't add additional salt, especially MSG, because MSG is monosodium glutamate, and it's horrible for your body. It wreaks a lot of havoc on our body, so we really don't need any of that. So there's no salt added. And what I love about this is that this right here, it says PBA free. So a lot of manufacturers have caught on that, bisphenol A is a plastic liner that they'll put inside cans, and it just keeps the shelf life longer. So you want to buy canned goods. If you're buying canned goods, you want to buy them that are PBA free, so no bisphenol A, right? Because we don't need to have endocrine disruptors going into our bodies, having it leaches into the food. Serious things can happen, and I know a lot of you who follow me have shared many stories of your family experiencing some difficulties. So we could probably do a Zoom call for all of us that are watching on a regular basis and really talk about that. But at any rate, that's what you want to do. I'm not going to open this can because I want to show you the difference between how I created these when I cooked them, and I cooked these in the pressure cooker. And so this is the canned garbanzo beans, and this is the pressure cooker. And let me tell you, the difference in the taste, so significantly different. They are phenomenal. When you cook them the way that I did here, and again, I'll show you how I did it, but the flavor is just incredible. What I used, because these are for the total vegan vegetarian, I used a vegetable broth, and I just used this entire canister, and I put it inside that pressure cooker over there. Put the whole bag of garbanzo beans in, and I put the vegetable broth in, all in, and what I added was, the only thing I added were some of the garlic cloves. I don't have any garlic cloves left, but I roasted garlic cloves, and I put in some roasted garlic cloves, and I think I put in like 10, and I put in our seasoning that I have here. I put in the Dano seasoning. I put in some oregano, marjoram, some cumin, and black pepper, and I'll write that out in the actual recipe. I let them on the bean side. They cooked for 30 minutes. I took the pressure off right away as soon as they were finished, after they were finished cooking, and then I scooped them out and I put them into this bowl, and that was it. Now, I've only needed to use half of the whole bag, but you can see I easily could have doubled this recipe, right? So yummy and so wonderful. And let me tell you, you don't get rid of that broth. Let me tell you why. Because this is the beautiful broth, and this is something that I do with my garbanzo beans. These are great snacks to have throughout the week, so we're never going to get rid of those. But the broth that is as a result of this cooking is right here. And if you could taste this incredible, delicious, multi-level layered flavor, it is phenomenal. So, so, so good. So don't ever get rid of that once it's done cooking. It'll cool off, you'll save it, you can have it as a soup. I literally, as I've been creating and cooking up a storm today, I've been just chewing on these. They are so delicious. I mean, I should have one. Just, yeah, sorry. Okay, so good. Oh, God, they're so good. They have such an incredible, incredible taste to them. And you can do so much with them. So this is what we've done. We put them in the food processor, and that's it. This is where they get started with. So this is the base to what we've done for the chickpeas, for the garbanzo. And then the next thing that I've done to keep it all vegetarian and vegan is I went ahead and have half an onion, as well as the juice, the broth that came from cooking the garbanzo beans, and I've got a half a cup of chopped garlic in here. And so you don't want to have all of this liquid. There's a lot of liquid that's still on here. So I'm just going to use my spoon, slotted spoon, and just kind of get that. I thought I had the strainer. I don't have the strainer, but this is good. This will be good. So we're just going to add in this mixture into our garbanzo beans. So good. Oh, if you could smell the flavor of what's coming out of here, it's so good. So you just want to saute them, put them aside. When the garlic is cooked down and the onions are translucent, which they completely are. So good. All right, put that to the side. And again, I wouldn't get rid of that. That's some great dipping sauce. All right, the next thing that we're going to add in we have some breadcrumbs. And I have all vegan breadcrumbs. I have a couple of different varieties here, and I'll just keep them handy dandy. In the store I found, and they're all gluten-free too, so those of you who are gluten-free and vegetarian, I think you're just going to absolutely love this recipe. Okay, so I have an Italian style Panko crumbs, and they're gluten-free. Love that. And I also found, okay, that's the Italian style, and then this is the Panko style. Those were two new brands. This is a new brand I've never worked with, and this is Jillian's Italian breadcrumbs. No soy, wheat, gluten, soy, and dairy-free. And somebody made a comment on the show when I did the Come Shop With Me. They said, I never get my spices the way that I want to when I go and when I do breadcrumbs. They just never taste great. So what's my secret to actually giving them a little bit more enhanced flavor? Well, I'm going to show you. What you always want to do is whatever spices you're going to be cooking with, you want to add those complexities just to layer in those flavors. So I'm just going to add in the same things that I'm cooking with in these meatballs. So I've got some oregano. Let's talk about our spices. So I always do organic, non-GMO. GMO is one of those most important things when you're buying something. You want to look for labels that say non-GMO. And what that means is genetically modified engineered food, right? Genetically modified organism. So that's what the GMO stands for. So you want to get non-GMO. And this label's a little small, but you can see it says non-GMO. Always strive to have non-GMO foods in any time for your life. We are doing such crazy things to our bodies because we can't actually process the food the way we used to. And then I've got some black pepper, and it's a coarse brown black pepper that I'm adding in. I need to take that top off. This is a new one. And I've got some crushed red pepper. And then this is some of the spices that you'll see me use. They're kind of optional. And then I have some ground cumin. You don't have to use, oh, this is a new one as well. I've used a lot of these spices in the sauce, and I had to pull out some new containers. So I use a lot of spice when I cook, and I know people who follow me for a while, they know how to adjust. And then I have some crushed chipotle red pepper. Just a few of those. And then we have a little bit of marjoram, and then some oregano. And since the onions and the garlic were cooked with the danos, I'm not going to add any danos because that was pretty powerful. Now I do have some Thai basil, but I was able to go back to the grocery store today and I found some basil. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I've gone ahead and chopped up that basil. In here I've got some fresh oregano, and I've got some diced up basil. And all I've done is taken my cooking shears, and I've just done this to the basil. Just made nice little slivers so it'll get spread out throughout. Now if you don't have fresh, obviously you can use the dried. And then for oregano, I'm not sure if you didn't see last week's show, you didn't see the trick for oregano. To get the oregano leaves off versus picking them, you just hold it in the reverse and you slide your finger down so that the stem is remaining, and all you do is capture those leaves. Now the top two leaves you'll have to pull off, but that's it. That's how you do oregano. So I've got that in here. I'm just going to dump those in. Okay, now so I'm going to go ahead and add the breadcrumbs to this mixture, and you'll see. So there's a quarter cup of each one in here, of each one of those breadcrumbs that I showed you. And then I'm going to be adding in an egg mixture that is dairy-free, and I'll show it to you. I use Bob's Red Mill dairy-free. It's an egg replacement, and it's also gluten-free, so I love that. I love Bob's Red Mill. So it's like a 1-to-1 ratio, or 1-to-2 ratio rather. So for every tablespoon, you'll do 2 tablespoons of water. Thinking that this is still a little thick, so I might not have done the ratios really well. I need to actually add in just a couple more tablespoons of water. Because I think I had made it and it let it sit for just a little bit longer than I'm used to. So I'm just adding in a couple more tablespoons. And that's all you have to do. And it gets just like an egg. You just gotta beat it up a little. Oh, I forgot to turn that off. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Gosh, I hope that didn't stop our videotaping. No, I don't think it did. I think we're still going. I did take the ringer off. Sorry about that, everybody. It's crazy. Oh, I'll tell you, it's been one of those cooking days. So much fun in this kitchen, but a lot going on. All right, so now I'm going to add in another optional, but one of the things that I think add in such really wonderful flavor is baby portobello. So I've gone ahead and used my food processor, and these are organic. They had them at the store. So I'm just going to add in a little bit at a time. I'm not going to add in all of what I've got here. Just see how that works. And now I'm going to add in the final ingredient in here, and this is our vegan Heart Health shredded style Parmesan shreds. So I love Follow Your Heart. They're soy-free, gluten-free, vegan. They are casein-free. They're just wonderful, and they smell just delicious. All right. And so this is where it's going to get a little messy, because that's what this recipe is it just is a little messy. But you want to get all of these ingredients all nice and mixed well together. And obviously, if you need a little broth, if it becomes too dry, you have your extra broth, which is great. And if you need to add a few extra dry ingredients, obviously you can. I definitely want to add more of these mushrooms. But I love to layer in flavors. Everything that I cook, I love to find ways that I can make everything just, oh, and there's a word for it. If you're watching, help me out with the word. NPR actually had somebody on today all about cooking, and it was just a wonderful show. I couldn't listen to all of it because when I had to go back to the grocery store to get a couple of things today, I was just like, oh, I wish I had that on so I could hear the whole thing, but I had to go run into the grocery store, run back out, and so I missed a lot of it. And then, of course, when I got here, I just needed to really focus on getting that pasta sauce just perfect. So it's wonderful. Oh, if you could smell these, they are just phenomenal. They smell so incredible. This mixture. So you just really want to get everything nice and mixed in. So great. And I wouldn't mind adding in just a spoonful more of, because you don't want them to be too dry because they'll fall apart in the sauce when they actually cook. Now you can cook these directly in your sauce, in the fast pot and or in your crock pot, whichever one you're using. Or if you choose to bake them, you can actually bake them. So I'm gonna do a little bit of both, just so you can see the difference, because they'll cook as long as the meatballs will. So, all right. Those of you who love and have communicated to me about all of the vegan choices that you have loved lately, I so appreciate that feedback. It's been helpful for me because I knew that it would be an important thing to make a since we did a vegan sauce, a vegetarian sauce last week, that we did and follow through on making a really nice vegan meatball that you'll love, your family will love to have. Okay, these are ready to roll, actually. All right, so I'm gonna roll just a couple so you see what the process looks like. And then we're gonna go on to making the meatballs, the other meatballs. All right, let me wash my hands off real quick. This is one of those kind of recipe days that you really need to have a few extra towels laying around just so that you keep everything clean and not too crazy. All right, what I have in front of me is some almond flour. And the almond flour is what we're gonna roll our meatballs and our vegetarian meatballs in. So this is just one that's called Barney Bakery. What I loved about it was gluten-free, non-GMO, and it was peanut-free. So this was a really good product that I found at the store. You know, any almond flour is going to work well, but I liked that one, so that's the one I picked. And you want to roll just ever so lightly your meatballs in them. So I'm going to take a handful of my meatball. I like to make really big meatballs in our family because that's just what we've grown up with. So I'm just making them nice and super packed tight, just like that. And now I'm just gonna roll it in the almond butter, the almond flour. So there's a nice coating on them. And all you have to do is pop them into your sauce. So this is gonna be our vegan, completely vegan product. You can make smaller ones, especially if you're doing something for the holidays and you're making the small cocktail size ones. These are perfect. It's a perfect recipe for that as well. Okay. If you could just smell how wonderful these are, tasting that broth, it's a soup that is just, you'll go to heaven. It's just so beautiful. It tastes so delicious. Oh, umami was the topic of the talk show, and then there was, the new word was kutami. I think it's kutami. And what I loved, because it was so timely that I heard it, was that's really how I love to cook, is have those delicious flavors, how they gel together, and that you wonder and you say to yourself, how did they make that? How is that even possible? What's in that? And it's just really it's a lot more science about it. That was the whole concept of really talking about the science of cooking, which I think that's what I've always been a kind of a science nerd. And I've always enjoyed cooking forever. I've always enjoyed it because I just have loved the science of how everything just can come together. I'm going to do a couple that I'll put over on my baking dish. Although I didn't prepare my pan for the baking dish. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the rest of this for the baking dish. Because I didn't prepare it, and I want to do just a light coating of olive oil or avocado oil. Yeah, I'll make one more. There's plenty of space in there. I'll make maybe a couple more here, and then I'll save the rest of this mixture so that you can see. You can actually put these in the oven if you prefer as well. So I just want to take some pictures as we go along this evening, not obviously when you're all watching, but at least enough so that you can see, yeah, there's a wide variety of what you can do with them. So that's just great. Although I need to actually, what I realized, if I'm going to use this flour, I can't really mix, so we don't want to do that. So let me quickly get these rolled up and ready to go. So tell me, as you're watching, one of the things that we love to do is, if you have never had you have an Instapot or you have a Mealthy pot, tell me some of the things that you have done with your pot, because I hear from a lot of people who said, thank you so much for your show, because I've always been afraid to cook in it, and you make it so that there's no fear. And a lot of you are starting to send me pictures in Messenger, which I absolutely love. Thank you very much. Some of you are actually tagging me in your posts, and I'm able to share them. Richard, I applaud you. I know that was one heck of a meal you cooked with your Instapot. So I just love that our community shares things like that. So if you have some favorite things that you would love to share, some recipes that have turned out, feel free to share them with all of us in our community. And remember, right now, as you're sitting here, I need to stop putting those in here and just leave the rest for in here. So if you're actually the first time watching, we love to hit that share button that shares the show on your wall. So we'll build our community. That's really the opportunity, is to build our community up. And just share the love and the joy of cooking that we all have. And when you do that, if you do it every week, or if you just do it from this show, the next show that I do, you get entered to win, and Mealthy Multipot. And we have given one away. Several people, there's one family that has won, well, between the two of them, they've won 3 in their family, which is crazy. But they share it everywhere. They share the show everywhere. So, they're consistently doing that. And then we've had some people who have won that have never shared before, and they're so elated and never had a pot before. So it's just so beautiful, and I love to give things like that away. And thanks to Mealthy, they don't actually pay for it completely, but they give me a substantial discount. So, the whole year, last year, I've been doing this with the Instapots, because I didn't know about Mealthy. And the Instapot people never gave me a discount or anything, but I still gave them away, because I really think that it's one of the neatest gadgets that you can have in your kitchen, a pressure cooker. All right, so those I'm going to put to the side, and we're saving these for just to put in the oven to show the difference. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with making the actual meatballs. Now, I have 2 sets of meat here. I'm only going to go through one, and we'll end the show, because I don't want everyone to think, oh my gosh, I have to sit here and watch her roll these meatballs, because you don't. But I do want to show you the great complexity of this particular recipe. Love it. So we'll just go ahead and put these over here. So once I get this pan, I'll just lightly brush some olive oil on it, and it'll be perfect. All right, so what we're going to do is now go ahead and make one of these meatballs. So this will be for the Mealthy, and then I'll make this one for the CrockPot. So I'll go ahead and just take one of these guys. And so you know what we did here with the buttermilk and the bread. This was an important thing. So you want to have that nice and kind of gooey, and just kind of hold it up so you can see it. It's nice and gooey and just really nice and wet. You want a nice wet mixture there. And what I have in here, for those of you who are doing the meat, is I have, and you can choose your own meat. I always get this question, can I use turkey, or can I use ground chicken, or can I, in fact, I have ground turkey in here, and I have a really lean, 97% lean meat, because we're not pre-cooking anything, and we're just popping them right into the Mealthy pot. So the other thing is last year I made this with, so I did some sausage. I did like I have to go back to the recipe. I did a mixture of lean sausage and then also ground beef. And this time we're doing a little healthier version, doing ground turkey and some ground beef. So what we have is a third of a pound, or 1.3 of each of those meats right in here. And we have our mushrooms that we're going to add. So we're going to go ahead and add, no, I think I better get it a little bit more wet first. So we did the same mixture with the onion and the garlic. And I used bone broth for this particular one. I only used 8 ounces. So there's 8 ounces of bone broth. There's a half of an onion, half a cup of onion, chopped up onion, and a half a cup of garlic in here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this spoon. And we're going to dump that in. And I'm going to just give that a nice stir before I add in the other ingredients. Just a little bit of a mix that all in. You don't want to overwork the meat anytime you're working with the meat, but you do want to get those garlic chunks kind of stirred around. All right, perfect. Now we're going to add in the bread and the bread that's been sitting. And I'm going to add in the mushrooms. I'm only adding in half, so I save the other half of that mixture for over there. And we are also going to be adding in 1 egg that has been beaten. So we'll go ahead and add that in. And I have some, a third of a cup of avocado cheese, and we'll add that in. And I have over here, I actually have some flat leaf parsley as well as Italian parsley, so the curly parsley. And I'm just adding in to taste, so I'll just sprinkle some in. I may add a little bit more than that. And then I have a third of a cup of 3 different types of Romano, Asiago, and Parmesan cheese. And so we're just going to fold that in. Such complex flavors. All right, and we're going to do the same thing with the spices that we have here. We're going to add in some black pepper. We're adding some oregano. Red peppers. And I actually had the basil. I had some basil in this as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had chopped up some basil in there as well. So we'll add some ground cumin. Some marjoram. And some oregano. Now we'll do just a little bit of pink Himalayan salt on this one. The garbanzo beans, although they didn't have any salt added, the vegetable broth was unsalted. I probably could have used a little bit of the pink Himalayan salt, and then the nutritional yeast seasoning. I love to add just a little bit of yeast seasoning to our meat. And this is a Bragg's nutritional yeast seasoning. It's wonderful. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to start to mix this around first with a spoon, and then I'll get my hands in there. Yep, looks like I'm going to have to get my hands in there because it's not going to, I need to get all of those ingredients really well mixed. All right, here we go. Let's dig in. And we just keep folding on top of one another until all these ingredients get mixed in real well. Get the spices folded in. So those of you who don't like mushroom, you don't have to add in those mushrooms. But one of the things I definitely recommend for this recipe when you're splurging, if you're not going to go the vegetarian route, is to definitely do the bread. The bread makes everything to this, making a, I think I call it a mouth-watering recipe. It's just, the bread means everything to this particular recipe, especially when you have it sitting in that buttermilk for a while. And it's not a lot. It's, you know, for each meatball, there's probably just a smidgen in there. It's not a lot. You have more of the other flavors that are real complex with this. So I see that I probably could add in just a smidgen more. I'm just moving it around. I probably would add in, just because I would like to have a little parsley in every bite. And that's what you want to do, is make sure all the flavors that you've added into this incredible mixture are seen in every bite. But we make the meatballs so large that I think it's not really going to be an issue. And we are going to do the same thing. We'll bake some of these, and we'll also put them in both pots. That looks pretty darn good. All right, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to make a few of these, and then we're going to go ahead and end the show, and I'll just continue to roll the meatballs. So you want to get them nice and tight. And if you get a chunk or two that has too much of the crust, go ahead and peel that out. You don't want to have anything that's showing too much bread. And I did use a little bit of the crust. All right, so you're going to do the same thing. Get them rolled in the almond flour. And you're going to pop them right into your sauce. It's it. This is so simple. It's such a wonderful, now it's, you know, for the vegetarian style, I think that those are a little more time consuming if you start off with the dry beans, but they're so much more economical, and honestly, I believe when you cook them that way, they have so much more flavor. And you have the ability to use the leftovers, like whatever's left over. You have the ability to use that for snacks that you'll be making for the week. You have the broth. If you do a couple of bags, you'll have the broth. It's just so wonderful. And yeah, that's how you make hummus too. I'm going to have to do a show on how to make your own hummus. It's just, you'll never buy hummus again when you learn how easy it is to make hummus when you have a pressure cooker. It's just so easy to make it. And these are going to melt in your mouth kind of meatballs. And again, you can make them any size that you'd like. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and roll this last one up, wash my hands, and we'll end the show with a few things. We love to do some tips of the day. Healthy tips of the day. Okay. Oh my goodness. That one might fall apart. I don't know if I got it tight enough. So you do want to make sure they're pretty tight before you put them into that sauce. But it'll be okay because, you know, if it falls apart a little bit, that'll be all right. It's not going to be the end of the day because it's what people expect to have in their sauce. Okay. All right. There we go. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this recipe as much as I have creating it today. I have been so excited since we went shopping on Wednesday when we went shopping. I did want to show, I saw over here that I didn't actually talk about this product. It was in the shopping cart, and it's called tempeh. So if you didn't want to do the whole trick with the garbanzo beans, you could always buy tempeh. I prefer the flavor of what we've done here because that's where you're going to have the most intense flavor. But this is a really wonderful product too. If you need something really super fast, it's something that you can do, and it's really tight, airtight, compacted. It stays in the refrigerator, so I do need to get back in the refrigerator. And that's the recipe. So I hope that you have enjoyed it. And once I stop the videotaping, I'll come back and we'll finish this up, and we'll go ahead and start the they'll need to cook in the slow cooker for 40 minutes, and you'll have that slow cooker on high. So this sauce has been, I'll actually move this out of the way so you can see it. For those of you who follow me with the slow cooker, let me show you the sauce. Again, it looked just like the same sauce that was done and it's been sitting here nice and just getting some beautiful flavor, complex flavors going on. So it's ready, and it's not super hot, but it is ready to get started with having some meatballs. So I need to make some meatballs and put them in, and they'll cook for 40 minutes on high. Make sure that it doesn't get too bubbly. If you do, you'll have to play with it, turning it down. This particular all-clad gets real hot on high, so you do have to play around with that. But in a slow cooker, you're going to cook them on the slow setting. You'll cook them on the slow setting for 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours. So just keep an eye on the pressure cookers. So easy. Once you put the top on, they're going to sit at 10 minutes. You're going to set the manual device. You'll set manual time for 10 minutes and then quick release. And you're going to have the most incredible, delectable meal ever. Now, if you decide to put them in the oven, you're going to put them in the oven, turn them every 10 minutes at 375. And that's all you'll have to do to cook those. So look forward to me writing this recipe out, and I'll be putting it on the post so that you'll have it forever. And let's see who last week's winners are. We have over here the Mealthy Pot and the people who share the show. I'll start off with, we always love to give away the Dano spices. And just kind of get that out of the way. Scoop that up so it doesn't go in the sink. We love to give away Dano spices, and Dano is a teammate of mine on my health and wellness team, and he's created these spices. These Dano spices are phenomenal. They're Kentucky proud. Right there's the symbol. So I always love to support him and his business because they are no GMO, no MSG. They are just beautiful spices. And so the person who says hello, who they are, where they're from, we just do a random generator for that particular comment. And it was Gloria Berry. You won the spices. So Gloria, I'll send you a message. Let's see who's going to win the Mealthy Pot giveaway. And all of these names that are in here are the people who entered. Some of you you're getting wise. I have to applaud you on you're actually sharing in a couple of different places. Very smart and strategic. Okay, so I'm going to keep my eyes closed. We'll see who wins. All right. Okay. All right. I've got my finger on the winner. Let's see who it is. Okay. Well, congratulations to... Okay, Ravi Mehta. Congratulations, Ravi. I think that was your first time entering. I don't remember seeing you having entered before. So congratulations, Ravi. And I'll send you a message and get your information so that we can get one mailed out to you. Congratulations. That is exciting. Okay. All right, everybody. I think what I'm going to do is share the healthy tip of the day. I'm going to share it for next week because I have a special guest who's coming on next week. I think last week, the last two shows, we've talked about pH and having a really good alkalinity in our body. And I have been on the search for having a really great machine that's going to actually be installed in my house. And it's going to be installed right here under the sink, which I was so excited about. But it's an ionizer, and so I'm going to have a guest on at the end of the show because we're going to be making a really simple lasagna. So it'll be really fun, and really quick. It's a real quick recipe since we have this whole Italian theme going on. And/or I've had a couple of requests for a couple of other items. So it'll be a quick and easy show. So at the end of the show, we're going to have a really special guest, and just a dynamite person. So she is going to blow our minds away with all of the things that she can share with us about cooking with this particular ionizer. And so I'm looking forward to having you on the show, Missy. If you're watching, I know you're not because you're incredibly busy with where you are today. With that said, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Thank you always for coming back and learning more and working with me in the kitchen. It's such a pleasure to have you join us. And I'm sharing lots of love. I've put a ton of love into these two recipes. And this year I think I outdid this particular meatball recipe in a big way. And then creating this new recipe, the vegetarian meatball, I really had a blast creating it. So I really appreciate everybody who comes in and joins us every week. Have a beautiful, blessed weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Have a beautiful weekend. See ya.